On Sunday, polls open in Ecuador's general elections. Over 13 million citizens are called to the polls. In Lebanon, a new attack perpetrated by the Israeli occupation forces killed 6 people and wounded 2 others in the east of the country in the midst of the ceasefire agreement between Hezbollah and Israel. And the 39th edition of the Goya Spanish Film Awards was held in Spain. The gala was marked by the claims in favor of Palestine and the rejection of Donald Trump's anti-immigration policies. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Sunday, polls open in Ecuador's general elections. Over 13 million citizens are called to the polls to choose the next president that will govern the country until 2029. The electoral process began on Saturday abroad. Ecuadorians also vote this Sunday for 151 members of the National Assembly and 5 members of the Indian Parliament. 16 candidates are running for the presidency, 14 men and 2 women. The electoral rules establish that to win the presidency, it is required to obtain more than 50% of the valid votes, or at least 40%, with a 10-point lead over the second place. According to polls, neither of the 2 leading candidates, Luisa González and Daniel Noboa, will secure this figure, meaning that the presidency will most likely be decided in a runoff election. And in the context of Ecuador's general elections, we go live to Quito with our special envoy, Jorge Gestoso, for all the details as the polls recently opened and the election is on the way. Hello, Gestoso. Welcome to From the South.
Good morning, Luis. The President, Daniel Noboa, has already emitted his vote. Polls were opening about 35 minutes ago. Are going to be open until 5 p.m. is going to be participating, as you mentioned, over 13 million Ecuadorians, 13.7 million. The turnout is expected to be around 80%. Is going to be chosen the presidency, the vice presidency, the members of the National Assembly and representatives to the Andean Parliament. We are talking that the main issues that are going to be concerning the electoral are security, or better said, insecurity, the economy, especially the unemployment, and talking about the crisis of energy crisis that has been pounding this country in the few past weeks with blackouts at over 14 hours a day. The international observers are going to be present. We're talking about over 500 international observers. We're talking about the issue that concerns the most is transparency in this electoral day, because the candidate, one of the 2 favorites candidates, the leading candidates are favorites here is Luisa González, as you were mentioning, from Revolución Ciudadana, and the president candidate Daniel Noboa. Yesterday, precisely, Luisa González in the social media expressed her concern that there exists the possibility or the probable situation in which a parallel counting voting system has been implemented by the armed forces. And she said if that will be the case, is absolutely outrageous, is not only unconstitutional but also illegal. So throughout the day, many people in this country are having a very close look to the transparency of the presidency, the act, the many hours are going to be taking place, and the hours after. Theoretically, according to the National Council of the Elections, the official CNE, first trends are going to be presented about 90 minutes after the closing at 5 p.m. So mostly so far the country and the city of Quito here from our studios of teleSUR is precising a very quiet and normal day. So We are having a very close look, Luis, to what's going on in the coming hours. We get back to you now.
Thank you, Gestoso, for this updated information very early in the morning. We're going to stay in touch in upcoming news briefs as we continue to follow up how the whole electoral day develops and how over 13.7 million Ecuadorians go to the polls to decide the government that will rule the nation for the next years. Let's now welcome international law expert Dr. Yvonne Telles to deepen the analysis on Sunday's general election in Ecuador. Welcome, Dr. Yvonne, to From the South.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Luis. Good morning.
Morning. It's a pleasure to have you. Yvonne, Ecuador is voting amid a deepening security crisis, economic instability, and long-hour blackouts. How might these factors shape voter priorities and the legitimacy of the electoral process?
Well, while the first round victory remains a possibility, if one of the leading candidates obtains more than 50% of the votes or a 40% plus 10, all of these last year's crisis, we're talking about the blackouts, we're talking about security, we're talking about also about very high important judicial and constitutional issues regarding the behavior of the current government towards the institutional stability of the country that has been a growing concern between some parts of the population. That means that we might see that this can have an impact today. We have seen the polls, we've seen that those leading candidates, I'm talking about Luisa and Novoa, are expected to be heading for a runoff in April. I think that this kind of facts can have a bigger impact than we have thought of. And also, of course, the economic crisis that's showing its results from last year, lack of an adequate political work on that. So I think that might have some surprises today.
You were referring to the economic crisis with rising inflation, debt, and poverty. Ecuadorians are demanding solutions. How do the leading candidates' economic proposals differ, and what risks or opportunities do they pose for regional trade partners like those in ALBA or Mercosur?
Of course, there's a very big difference between those two leading candidates. I think that with Luisa Gonzalez, what we can expect is this current the past tendency, I'm sorry about, from Rafael Correa's government, and that is a policy on a low crime by working on social justice policies and, of course, major public work projects. That I think those are the two big tendencies, and that's to take a step back towards neoliberal policies such as the ones that we've been used to in the last years in Ecuador. On the other side, the expected trajectories, for example, of policy under Novoa will be in this former one, in the latter one, I'm talking about Novoa, we're likely to pursue pro-business reforms, the continuity to attract foreign investment, strengthening ties with the IMF, traditional financial organizations, and I think we are expecting the same aggressive standpoint towards fighting crime, and of course, a very tight cooperation with the US under Trump's administration. On the other side, with Gonzalez, I think will be like, or she will likely be to prioritize the reinstatement of the Correa's political order. That means to handle the political, the economic, and the security challenges more effectively. I think she would likely to emphasize on these distributive policies, state-led economic initiatives, maybe some negotiation. I think we can expect some negotiation with some violent groups, from the organized crime. And of course, as you said before, strengthen these regional alliances with more the leftist governments from the region, and maybe a deeper alignment with the BRICS.
As you were saying, Ecuador has recently pivoted between U.S. alignment and regional integration. How might these elections affect the foreign policy of the country, particularly regarding China and organizations like CELAC?
I think there's going to be there's big issues coming ahead with this election because these two leading candidates are differ completely from their policies and what they are proposing. I think that we might see a Gonzalez that will be leaning toward regional organization. Those, as I said before, those leftist governments from the region, I'm talking about Brazil, of course, Chile, Uruguay, Colombia, of course, Mexico as well. I think that there's a big risk regarding Novoa's tendency to tie its relationships to the U.S. And to the accustomed allies. I'm sorry, because what we are seeing right now, and we're expecting regarding Trump's administration and regarding the current tendency of this new geopolitical order that tends to be taking a new shape with this new tendency proposed by the U.S. So I think that might be very risky if we continue to follow these policies, because I think there has been I mean, Novoa hasn't given a big consideration of what does it mean to try to be the usual ally from the Latin America with regards to the United States. I mean, there's not a fair game over here, and I think that to go back to those usual policies might have a very big negative impact on what we can expect from this country, for this country.
One final question, Doctor. What do you expect that will happen today during the election day?
Okay, well, there's a big expectation that everything turns out fine in terms of security. I cannot deny that, as I've seen among the voters and the population, that there was kind of a big concern of security issues. So regarding that, or disregarding that part, well, I can see that maybe we can there's a kind of a not very trustful atmosphere in some spaces of the population regarding how these elections might turn out, because what we've seen sadly is a big tendency from the current government to try to, in a way, dismantle this institutional order that we've seen. So that might lead to some I don't know, discomfort regarding how the atmosphere feels regarding how these elections are going to be taken. Let's see. I think that there's a big polarized atmosphere also here. As I've seen, the other 14 candidates are not taken into account. This leads to the same kind of contest that we've seen years before, and I'm talking about the leftist parties and the right-wing parties. So I think this is the path that we'll follow. And I don't think that because of that polarized situation, we are going to see one candidate coming out from this electoral day. I think that definitely we are going to head to a runoff if the polls turn out to be as tight as we've seen in these previous results.
Thank you, Dr. Ivonne, for your time from the South and for your input on this important electoral day for Ecuador.
Thank you again, Luis, for the invitation.
No, it was our pleasure. Let's now take a short break. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Lebanon, a new attack perpetrated by the Israeli occupation forces killed 6 people and wounded 2 others in the east of the country in the midst of the ceasefire agreement between Hezbollah and Israel. According to Lebanese media, the drone attacked the Shara area near the town of Jenata in the eastern Bekaa region. Ibrahim Musawi, a member of Hezbollah, condemned the Israeli airstrikes, calling them a flagrant and very dangerous violation of the understandings between Israel and Lebanon. Despite the fact that the government provided for an implementation period of 60 days, ending on January 26, Israel has delayed the withdrawal of its troops from southern Lebanon and intensified its military incursions against the territory. 7 Palestinians released on Saturday by the Zionist regime had to be hospitalized due to brutal treatments received in the Israeli prisons. The information was confirmed by the Palestinian Red Crescent, which said that the 7 prisoners had been admitted to hospitals in Ramallah. The head of the Palestinian Prisoners Club, Abdullah al-Sagari, also confirmed that the prisoners needed medical care, treatment and examinations as a result of the brutality they were subjected to during the past months. The Israeli regime released a total of 183 Palestinians in exchange for 3 Israeli captives released by Hamas as part of the 5th prisoner exchange in line with the ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip. And Israeli occupation forces not only keep up with laying siege to the Palestinian population, but they are also advancing with ethnic cleansing in the occupied West Bank. The southern refugee camp of Al-Farra in Tuba City has been under siege for 8 days. In addition to the arrival of reinforcements, the occupation forces destroyed infrastructure, including the inhabitants' properties. Furthermore, the Israeli army arrested around 8 Palestinians after having hit their homes. Likewise, the Israeli regime expelled Saturday countless of family members from the camp. Afterwards, they found shelter in several schools. The 39th edition of the Goya Awards for Spanish cinema was held in Spain, in a gala marked by the claims in favor of Palestine and the rejection of Donald Trump's anti-immigrant policies. For the first time in the history of the awards, there was a tie, and 2 films won the top award. They are The Infiltrator, a film that tells the story of a police agent who infiltrated the ETA organization, and The 47, a film that tells the difficulties faced by internal immigrants populations in the city of Barcelona in the 60s and 70s. Also, during the ceremony, different celebrities expressed their support to the people of Palestine in the face of the genocide perpetrated by the Israeli regime. In this sense, the awards were also the stage for the rejection of Donald Trump's anti-immigrant policies. And U.S. actor Richard Gere, winner of the International Goya Award, described U.S. President Donald Trump as a bully and warned about the wave of authoritarianism sweeping the world.
I'm coming from a place now that we're in a very dark place in America, where we have a bully and a thug who is the President of the United States. But it's not just in the U.S., it's everywhere, everywhere. Authoritarianism takes us all over. We have to be vigilant, we have to be alert, we have to be energetic, we have to be brave, we have to be courageous. And everyone who's watching this in the Spanish-speaking world and elsewhere, we have to be willing to stand up, tell the truth, be honest, and that there's a place in all of our lives for basic kindness, for basic love and understanding, and an embrace of each other in a very fundamental.
And Spanish actress and former president of the Film Academy, Aitana Sánchez Gijón, received the Goya Honor Prize, referred to the new imperialism that they attack the peoples.
Como dijo nuestra querida Marisa Paredes, precisamente en una gala de los Goya, no hay que tener miedo a la cultura.
As our dear Marisa Paredes said precisely at a Goya gala, we must not be afraid of culture. You have to be afraid of ignorance, indifference, lies, fanaticism, and violence. We must be afraid of war. And I would like to add, and I think Marisa would agree with me, we have to be afraid of the new imperialisms and ethnic cleansing.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.